Hey folks, welcome to Isolation Nation. What a day yesterday with Chael Sonnen leaving before the show. Hey Chael, after you posted that video today, why don't you go Gotta take the high road. That's what we do around here. After all, this is about mental health. This is about charity. So Chael Sonnen, I got no problem. You know what? I do have a problem with what you did. Okay, I'm okay. Got to take the high road. I like Chael Sonnen. We had a disagreement. He went and said some things, but I'm not going to say them back. For real. There's two sides to every story. Today, Colin Mochrie and Debra McGrath, two of the funniest people that you'll ever meet, with great advice for us. And our doctor is back, Khush Amaria. We tried to get her on a couple of weeks ago. The line crapped out. She's back today. And I don't even blame Chael for the line crapping out last time. This is Isolation Nation. What a wild show. Well, actually, it wasn't wild at all. What a wild pre-show yesterday. And, it's not like everybody on the planet would have seen it, but it was bizarre because Chael Sonnen, the only person in my career who's ever walked off a show, walked off before the show yesterday. And then he posted a video this morning. That's what I was referring to. And he just ripped into me. But you know what, Chael? I still like you. I still admire you. And I would love to be able to explain to you sort of our side. So today, are they there? Colin, Deb, you guys didn't leave, did you?
No.
Yeah, you're still there. Hey guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
You know, I'm great. This whole experience has been amazing. We should welcome officially Colin Mochrie and Deb McGrath, who are, as I said, two of the funniest people around. So go ahead, be funny. Let's give me the funny stuff. Okay. How about this? My question is, how do you work together? How do you know who's going to talk next? You know, it's not like this is a performance that you have rehearsed before. So how do you do that?
Well, we have over 30 years discovered that by listening and feeling each other, we can communicate to as one.
Oh no, you said two and then he said as. That makes no sense. What the hell's going on?
Two as one.
Oh, okay. You see, no wonder he walked off. So that was cute. Let's come back to that because maybe I'll take part in that little conversation.
Right? Oh, sweet.
But, yeah. So I wanted, first of all, I wanted both of you on. I know Colin better than I know Deb. I heard Deb speak at a recent event where she read from a book that she had written, and I thought it was one of the best things I've ever heard. I thought that you were funny. I thought that you were incredibly sensitive, incredibly incisive. And I thank you for the time today. Have a good night, folks. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Wow, I love this show. It's so easy. That's what everyone should have.
So let's talk about mental health during COVID-19, and you can choose who's going first, but it's a basic question. So how you doing?
We're doing well.
Yeah, we are doing well.
It's a different situation because I have not been home this much in like 20 years.
Yeah.
So there has been some navigating of, I will go elsewhere, so I'm not underfoot with Deb. She's doing a lot of stuff always. She's connected to a lot of people. She's made like 70 masks already. So I'm just trying to stay out of her way and cook for her.
Yes, and he's good at it.
Yes, I saw a video with you. I think you were giving people a tour of your kitchen, and you pointed out the fact that Colin does the cooking and you don't cook at all. Is that correct, Deb?
Well, now I light the candles and I pour the wine and put on the music. So,
we all have
you know what? When we first met, I was the cook. Hated every minute of it. And then when I was pregnant, we were also in LA and I was working 14 hours a day on my own show. So I was exhausted. Colin asked, what's the deal with cooking? My heart started to pound. Is it tricks? Is it recipes? I said, it's both. He started it and fell in love with it. Like he literally makes every meal we eat.
See, if you wanted to throw a token offer my way, you could say, you know what, Michael, you should come over for dinner really soon.
Yeah.
Damn this pandemic. We're just about to call you.
I know.
When suddenly everything fell apart.
Exactly.
That's right up there with, you ought to come up to the cottage sometime.
But it's funny that you would mention that. I mean, things are going well, and all of us here know we're lucky. We've got a roof over our heads, etc. But I must say, because my mom is in a nursing home, I've had rough patches. I've suffered from anxiety attacks for 25 years, some horrible, some not so bad. Yesterday, I thought, what's happening? I thought I was actually having a sugar reaction. And I don't take my little, what I call nervy derbies very often. And I couldn't even remember where they were. But I mean, this sounds dramatic. I had to take a pill. Literally had to take a chill pill. My heart was pounding because it dawned on me that, God forbid, if my mother got this, I can't be with her. And that took me over. Literally, even though I always say when I'm having an attack, hello, old friend, I'm all over you. It got me yesterday because this was a new thing. And I was very, very sad yesterday.
Okay, so let me ask you and then Colin, because the issue of one partner struggling with something mental health related is the most common question that I would get asked if I went to give a speech was, what do I do about my spouse who struggles with depression or anxiety or panic disorder, or it doesn't really matter what it is. My question for you is, what can Colin do best for you to help you through what is a pretty acute attack?
I hate to use the word normal. I'm trying to think of a better word. He can acknowledge it and then go about his day. Because yesterday, and he did acknowledge it and asked me if I'm all right, but if he's all over me, then I start to escalate thinking, how am I coming off? Am I feeling worse than I think I am? Then I go further and further down the rabbit hole. So I had a singing lesson yesterday. That took me out of my own head because I had it for an hour. I was still shaking and palpitating, but it was kind of almost gone for an hour because that was a normal part of the day. Then it came back with a vengeance. I know I need a pill when I'm conscious of my breath, when I'm thinking about breathing, not struggling for breath, but thinking, am I going to be able to breathe a little while? When I start thinking that, it's time, because if I go too far, and he, will stroke my back or like things like cooking for me. Normal is good. At the beginning, 25 years ago, I wanted all the attention because I didn't know what it was.
Right.
And you need someone to go, no, you're fine. What do I look like? You look normal. Okay, check. But now business as usual works for me.
Okay, Colin, so from your perspective, Deb said something that, as a sufferer myself, or I've tried to stay, semantics is so hard. God, I never know what word to use anymore. You crazy people. Oh, wait a sec. You can't use the word crazy people. You whatever people, myself included. One of the things that I always find is that if people are overly concerned about me and they're sort of up in my grill and it's like, are you okay? You should have told me why not, which is, a sign of caring. But that can also be pretty oppressive. Are you aware of that, Colin, that Deb has this get out of my face kind of attitude?
Yes. And Deb is excellent at communicating in a caring way. Exactly what she's going through. She's very good at there's never anything hidden with that. I mean, she was going through menopause, and not to equate that to mental health, but there were some times where it was, and one day Deb said to me, remember the scene in Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, where Luke goes into the cave and he sees Darth Vader there, fights him, everything is bad. And I said, yes. She goes, all right, if you talk to me and I go, I'm in the cave, that means you go away and stay away for as long as you can. So it was always nice to come home and go, hey, hon, I'm in the cave. It's like, all right, I know where we're at.
Yeah.
We'll go along our business. And then she would, I always sort of leave it up to her. Because as you said, I don't want to be hovering over her or just staring at her from the corner, seeing how she's doing. And having a partner who's very open about that certainly takes a lot of the onus off of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's by far. I mean, I've even gone as far as saying, if you don't share your own struggles with your partner, if you're not open and candid, I mean, really open, it's like you have no chance to have a normal relationship because, especially with depression, there's a sullenness that overcomes us, and I will just, I will remove myself from life. And whether I'm doing that physically or I'm just doing it, even though my body might be there, my spirit isn't, like how can you have a partner that does that without explaining what it's about? So, I think that communication is the key. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to, Phil, I'm going to ask for the video of your buddy, Sean Cullen, and then let's bring the doc in and hear what she's got to say. So this is your buddy and my buddy, Sean Cullen. Roll it, Phil.
Hello there, Debra McGrath, the queen of Canadian comedy, and also Colin. It's great to see you. I hope you're doing all right, and I hope you're self-isolating together, or duo-isolating, because you cannot be separated, and you shouldn't be separated, because without you, Colin is nothing. Stay.
Oh man, those eyes! Wow, like just seeing right through you. Well, you hold on, Mochrie and McGrath, because I want to introduce. And yes, technically, it's all coming together. Khush Amaria. Khush Amaria is the senior clinical psychologist with MindBeacon. She is really behind this thing called Stronger Minds by Beacon. And we tried to get her on once before, and technically it didn't work, and she's back. So thank you for that. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back.
Okay, so before we get to the Colin, I was going to say the Mochries or the McGraths. It's so confusing. Like, why can't they go with the same name? Do you not agree with? No. I guess what I want to know, and I think it's important to ask any individual, whether they're professional or not, is how are you doing? Because you have a life outside your professional career. You have a family, and you're experiencing the same conditions that we're all experiencing. So how you doing, Khush?
You know what? I'm doing okay, to be honest. I am very much like Debra and Colin. I am fortunate to basically get to do what I need to do for the day. And I've got a husband that will cook for me and kids that, for the most part, take care of themselves half the time. So making it through, it does feel really good that at least I can put something that's important to me professionally to good use for people right now. So.
All right, Khush. Well, Colin and Deb set this whole thing up just so they could get a consultation with you, because we know it's hard to get in to see a psychologist, and it's hard to get in to see a psychiatrist, and sometimes it can be expensive to see a psychologist. So we are jumping the line, and why don't you jump in with your suggestions or your comments about, Deb's pretty profound anxiety experience.
The most important thing I heard when Deb was talking was about how she really knew herself. As she said, it had been a long time she had one of those big kind of blown up anxiety attacks, but Deb knew exactly what she needed, and she was willing to do something to make herself feel better. She wasn't scared of her symptoms. Colin knew how to react and support her. And so the message right now is we actually don't know how we're going to react. So having some awareness right now is really important. We don't know how we're going to feel next week compared to how we felt last week in a way. So I think Deb is doing exactly the right thing, just knowing herself. And it didn't sound like there was any judgment in what happened yesterday. Yesterday was a bad day, and kind of leave it in the past. I think that was a great strategy to use as well.
Leave it in the past. That is words of wisdom, sometimes words that are really tough to actually deliver on. Okay, let's assume that it's Dr. Khush's radio show right now, and we have a caller on line 3, Colin from Toronto. Colin, do you have a question for Khush?
Yeah, how good is denial?
If you've got no other strategy, I would say go ahead and use it. Use it. Go into that cave, right? If you need to.
Oh, absolutely. Because I do feel I haven't fully grasped what's going on.
Yeah.
Because our life, I mean, when I'm home, I tend to stay home anyway with Deb. So I feel like, oh, it's kind of the same. I just can't go shopping as much.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, maybe I should be thinking about this more. But then I think, well, then maybe that's when the anxiety will happen. So I don't know what the question is. You can find one in there.
Yeah, no, I think, you've caught on to something really important, which was we will always have thoughts about what's going on coming in and out of our heads. It's there. We have no choice about that right now. How much attention we give to the thoughts is actually really the most important piece, right? So you could spend time, thinking about, well, what's next week going to be like? What's next month going to be like? When am I going to see so-and-so? And you're right, your thoughts are going to catastrophize. Suddenly you're going to be thinking about those worst case scenarios. You're going to have those same palpitations that Deborah probably had the other day, and you're not going to do yourself any good. So there is some value in maybe not the denial, but sort of staying more in the moment. If today is a good day and you can appreciate what you're doing, then that's okay. How we react to this scenario, there's no like check mark for saying, I did the right mental health strategy today.
Let's go back to our phones. Colin, thanks for calling today. We hope you're well. And Deb from Toronto as well. Do you know Colin, or is it just a coincidence?
It's just a coincidence, but I'm finding myself quite drawn to him.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess I will ask you, let's see. I have not watched media news since 9/11. 3 days after, when Colin gently turned to me and said, Deb, turn off the television. And so when this happened, I know that I can get plenty anxious.
Yeah.
So we get the Globe and the Star.
Yeah.
I read what I choose to read. There are some days when I go, nope, can't do that. Have to see the guy that waved at his mother outside the house. That's a happy story. But the question I have for you that arose, because I use a book called The Anxiety and Phobia Workbook. It's a Canadian, like almost a scribbler, and it works great. But I almost forgot yesterday. I've sorted it out. I've made my peace with whatever is going to happen, even regards my mom. I know that if I hear it's on her floor, things are not looking good. But intellectually, I had it sorted out. Mm-hmm. It always blows my mind that my body, the depression, the struggling to smile, the shaking, the heart palpitations, the feeling that the room is kind of distorted, that everything's a little wah-wah. And yet I'm going, and I'm not naive. My mother's 93. But my body yesterday, when I said, I've got this, my body went, actually, you don't, honey, you're going for the ride. And that always amazes me. What extra step, without taking the nervy-dervy, unless that is the step, can I do?
That is a great question. And I think you've touched on a couple of really important things. The first thing is how we experience stress in our bodies is not the same for anybody. So there's a cognitive element, right? There's the thoughts of you starting to think about all the worst case scenarios. There's an emotional element where you notice the anxiety or the stress or irritability, depression even. You can also experience stress very behaviorally, finding yourself shutting down, not doing things, not being productive. And then there's the physical symptoms, that muscle tension, the fatigue, the heart palpitations. You essentially had what I would call a stress attack, essentially, right? It showed up and you said, hold on a second. I think the one thing that's probably important in all this is that how you experience that will vary, right? It really does vary. So you made a choice about one of the great strategies now is preventing information overload, right? It's deciding, it's not to say you don't want any facts, but you're going to get your facts from a credible source, a reliable source, and you're going to deal with that. And so you made a very conscious choice about how to focus on that. The one other piece is to really think about, are you scared of your thinking, right? Can I spend some time really noticing what I'm thinking about? And sometimes just paying a bit more attention to it allows us not to avoid it. So we tend to do this sort of strategy called cognitive avoidance, kind of like that denial idea. And when we do that over and over again, it comes back. It sort of bites us in the butt in a way. So as you said, you think cognitively, oh, I've got this. I think I'm getting this. But maybe there's another new thought there that you haven't given much attention to. I think again, you've got some great ideas of how to keep yourself well, and that's what this is all about, giving people ideas, right?
Yes,
Yep.
and what you just said, I find that sometimes if a dark thought happens, and I'll acknowledge it and say, okay, I acknowledge that that's part of my makeup. I'm going to leave you now, acknowledging that you're part of me. My shower conversations are quite fascinating.
They are.
Okay, let's go to line 3 now, and Michael from Toronto. Yeah, Dr. Amaria, I was just wondering, thanks for putting me on. You're doing a great job. Long-time listener of the show, loving it. Are you finding that in your practice that there's more mental illness out there than there has ever been before? I'm going to hang up and listen.
I think that's a good question. I've actually been thinking quite a bit about that. The bottom line is none of us are immune to what's going on in terms of the impact on our mental health. And so can I tell you that the numbers are skyrocketing or anything like that? Not really, to be honest. What I can tell you is that individuals, of course, who've had previous mental health challenges may have some, increases in some of the anxiety. However, they may also have some great strategies that they can use right away. Most people who've been in any type of therapy, and I practice cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, most people who've been in that type of therapy have already been learning strategies to deal with stress, to deal with anxiety, to deal with low moods, and to deal with uncertainty. And that is basically what we are all dealing with right now, all of us collectively. So the way you can sort of determine, are people going to have a reaction to this, is mostly based on underlying psychological resiliency. So you want to have, we all come with a different level of resiliency. It comes often from actually dealing with stressors and coming out of them, in an adaptive way. And so it probably depends a little bit about where everybody's at in the resiliency. And again, what we're feeling right now may not be the same in another month, for example.
Yeah, I mean, God, I mean, that's probably the biggest issue. I think we probably all agree, or let's find out if we agree, that it's not just the challenges that we have right now, but it's the uncertainty, which really is not a good word to apply to mental health challenges. Uncertainty is unbelievably frightening. Colin, you agree? And if not, tell me why not. And let's go at it.
I absolutely do. I mean, there's absolutely no control. We have no control over what happens. And the more I watch the news, when I see down south what's happening there, that drives me insane, because I think totally powerless. My life right now is sort of in the hands of others. I within this house, we are fine. But beyond that, beyond the next couple of weeks, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Here's a question. I think this is for the doc. I'm going to assume so, although, Colin and Deb probably can weigh in because they're pretty good at this. All of my normal physical symptoms get worse. How do you know if it's mental, or are you actually sick? I'm going to start to answer that question by saying, well, actually, if it's just mental, you can still be actually sick. But I think that that person's asking about, when your heart is racing. I mean, that's the common thing, right, Khush, that with a panic attack, you start to think, maybe I'm having a heart attack. So how do you differentiate?
Yeah, and I think that the key piece is paying attention to sort of what's going on. Like, what was I thinking? What was I doing? Where was my head? Again, that idea of being just more self-aware of what's going on. Most of our feelings and our behaviors come from what we are thinking, but we're all not very good at noticing what we're thinking. We're good at, worrying. We're good at a bunch of other stuff, but not always great at knowing, like, what was that thought in a way. So, my messaging in some ways is, if you're having stress, like physical arousal, and you're feeling a lot of those effects, then don't forget good old-fashioned relaxation. I don't care how you relax, but good old-fashioned relaxation strategies actually help dampen that stress arousal. And dampening that stress arousal, that chronic arousal, often we could all use some of that right now. And it could be, Michael, if you like bubble baths, and bubble baths it is, or if it's mindfulness meditation, it doesn't really matter what it is. But if you're having those physiological symptoms, your goal is to just dampen them for the most part.
Yeah. So just so you know, was that an accusation that I like bubble baths? I kind of felt like you threw it out there, like, you like bubble baths, Michael.
Can I just mention that, and this is true, today is National Horny Day. I don't know if that's going to help or make things worse, but I'm throwing it out there.
Well, I'm on an SSRI, so that count me out.
Okay.
Do you know what what I just said? Does it have any significance to you? Because if not that it should, but I'm sure Khush knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of, we'll leave it at that, but yeah.
See, if you knew what I was saying, Colin, you would have gone, now that's pretty funny. But
I'm a bad speller.
Sorry?
I'm a bad speller.
So here's where I want to go with this. First of all, I want to know for real, what's for dinner tonight, Colin? What are you making?
Mm-hmm.
I'm making for Deb a chicken, potato, and rosemary pizza.
Nice.
Surprise.
Oh, sorry for spoiling
No,
the
fine.
surprise.
It was going to be a big romantic reveal. There goes National Horny Day.
That sounds really good. I think we're having pizza here too, because I know that my wife made some like handmade dough, which is so awesome for pizza.
Nice.
You know, I'm going to tell you something right now that you can take this as maybe the best advice you've ever received. And I know you're going to laugh and say, oh, that is so unbelievably shallow. But here's what I'm going to say. Pizza, creamy garlic dipping sauce will change your life. It will make every piece of pizza that you've ever had before seem like it's missing something. Pizza, creamy garlic. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and I did not see that coming. Of all the things you could have said to me, that was probably not in the top 1,000 that I thought you were going to share as advice.
I try to be unpredictable, but yeah, it's really good, and I like you guys. So I'm trying to improve your life.
I agree with you.
I can't eat gluten and I can't eat garlic, and I know you have every right to feel sorry for me. That's why he's making a meal for me, because it has to be a gluten-free crust, which, unless it's dressed as beautifully as Colin, kind of tastes like feet. And, I can't have onion, I can't have garlic, the list goes on. So often with our vegetarian daughter, he's making 3 meals.
Here's a question. I'm trying to read as I was listening to you, and then I stopped listening to you so I could read. Do you think some of the stigma of mental health will ease as the current situation has so many people going through it? I love that. Hey, Case, did you make up that question? Because that is like the perfect question. Because it was kind of, the joke was that my son, who's had anxiety since he was 6, who has been a germaphobe probably since he was 12. When I asked him, "How are you doing?" Because I do a daily blog. "How are you doing, Corey?" And he said, "I'm doing great. What's changed for me? Seriously, I'm just now living in a world where people are understanding how I've been living all my life." And it's kind of like the education of the uneducated when it comes to mental health. Do you know what I'm saying, Khush?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, it's hard to not be, I'm grateful for so many other things, but and everything that's going on, that we're all going to be paying more attention to our own mental health, the mental health of others. Employers are paying attention to the mental health of their employees. Neighbors are checking in on people. I think that is something that is great that we're going to gain on this. And I think the piece that we're going to have people really believing is, again, none of us are immune, that we can actually strengthen our mental health. This isn't just about having, being weak, certainly not sick, not weak, right?
Right.
And this is very much about the idea that when we're bombarded with stressors and uncertainty, that we can have challenges dealing with that. And so if you can learn a skill, if you can figure something out that's going to get you through the COVID-19 crisis, then you know what? You're better for it at the end of the day. Because if the next stressor that shows up, it's not going to be, hopefully not another pandemic, but the next stressor that shows up, you have that resiliency built in.
Yeah, I feel it when I take the dog out for a walk. People in the neighborhood I know people in my neighborhood, and they know that I'm a mental health guy, and this is the question I'm getting, because you gotta yell, right? Because you're across the road from each other. "Hey, Michael, yeah, what can I do? I'm really stressed out. I can't sleep at night." Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I talk about sports mostly, but I'm finding that people all over the place are now challenged by this. I was going to turn that over to you, Colin and Deb, but I may be putting you in a difficult position because I'm not sure what you're going to add to it. So let's find out how that's going to work out.
I've noticed in a nice way that every time we Zoom with friends, or every time you're on the phone or speaking to a neighbor, for the first time ever, everyone is starting the conversation with, how are you getting through? How are you feeling? And it's almost like that let's talk thing. That was the idea behind it. But people are talking because they almost have an expectation of a negative response. And I'm also finding that when people are giving negative responses, people for the most part are going further. Well, what are you doing? Are you alone? Do you have someone to be with? Do you have someone to talk with? Phone me, call me. Can I, I can drop food off or whatever. But I'm finding we were brought up in a, hi, how are you? Not bad. Yourself? Good. Hi, how are you? Good, good, fine, good. No one ever listened to the question. And now I've noticed people are listening and adding to it. That's
okay. Let's try that. Let's try that right now. Hi, Deb. How are you?
Well, I'm basically pretty good. I've got a roof over my head.
Yeah, you know what I asked, but I don't really care.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
As you know, I've never been a fan of humans.
No, he's not a human fan.
Not a big human fan. And especially the last 10 years or so, I feel there's been a real lack of empathy in the human race. We can't see what other people are going. We can't put ourselves in their place. But I find this may be the thing that does it, where everybody has maybe not the greatest of anxiety, but everybody has some anxiety. And if they can imagine living with that every day tenfold, that maybe we'll learn something. And the planet is slowly healing with all of us inside.
Have you seen that thing of the beaches around the world filled with animals and birds? It's incredible. All the most populated beaches now are filled with birds and animals. I think one of them was sort of the canary in the coal mine, came out and went, they're not here, and they're not here again. It's quite magical.
That's so cute. Okay, Colin, let's improvise something. You are my family doctor, yes, and I am calling you on the phone. Okay, so chances are this is an unrealistic situation because it's not like the family doctor is answering the phone. No offense to family doctors, but go ahead, answer the phone.
Hello.
Yeah, Doc, it's Michael Landsberg. How you doing?
Fine. Esther, why didn't you answer the phone? This actually is your job.
I'm sorry, but I thought you wanted a little more, face-to-face.
Well, let's give it a try. Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
Well, thank you for asking. I don't think I'm very good. I'm afraid I may have the virus. Can you ask me some questions to find out whether I actually do have it?
All right. Esther, can you get the question?
Fever.
Get the fever. Any fever?
No fever.
People, it's like a migraine, pains in the head.
Migraine? Do you have a migraine in the head?
No pain in my head either.
Trouble breathing?
I don't have trouble breathing at all, except if I were to climb up like 10 flights of stairs, and that's what really concerned me.
What, like 65 or something? That's normal.
Yeah.
Work out a little more. Maybe build your lung capacity by sticking your head in the bath for as long as you can. That's what you did, Esther. You did that. You got up to 3 minutes once.
I don't know that I'd suggest that to a patient. Well, anyway.
I work my own way, Esther. You know this.
And don't ask me.
Well, I'm just trying.
Well, I'm going to have to turn to another doctor because you're not giving me the answer I want. Because sometimes we go to the doctor and we want to hear, oh my God, you do have what you're afraid that you have. So I'm going to
You've got other problems. Don't get me wrong. You have many problems. You just don't.
Doc, I'm not asking you about other problems. Okay, let's stick to the COVID-19 thing.
Yeah, you're fine. Do you feel anything? Do you have any pains? You've always been a little bit of a hypochondriac.
Yeah, I don't think doctors are supposed to use that phrase, that term, hypochondriac.
I'm a new kind of doctor, Michael.
Really? What else? What other things would you diagnose me with mentally?
Do you dye your hair?
I do on the side, but not in the front. The irony is that the blonde streak in the front of my hair is a birthmark.
All right, don't do that anymore. Dyeing your hair leads to diabetes.
Is that the dye part? Like dye your hair, diabetes? I got it. I never put it together.
Yep. It's a new study. I can't tell you too much about it because I'm still writing the thesis. Have you typed that up yet, Esther?
I have typed it up. You're not the boss of me.
Oh, jeez. Feminist, huh?
Oh, thanks, Doc. Yeah, I'm I've got 9 family doctors. That's what we hypochondriacs do, because you got to keep going to the next doctor till you find a doctor that'll agree with you.
Yeah, 8 out of 9 doctors are quacks.
You're the exception. Thank you for doing this. And Khush, what do you think? Am I a hypochondriac?
Next question.
It's hypochondria is a word that kind of fell out of vogue, because I said to my doctor once, am I a hypochondriac? And he said, no. Hypochondria is a specific thing. That's not you. You're just a worrier. So I was pretty pleased that I didn't have to put on the pile of depression and anxiety and dyslexia and ADHD, another one. I'm so happy that he let me off the hook.
Yeah, there is a mental health disorder, health illness anxiety, essentially what you're thinking about, where people do have this sort of preoccupation with physiological symptoms, the fear of having a disease or acquiring a disease. There's, just as you'd expect, lots of doctor shopping and research, and it's at the bottom line, it's an anxiety problem where you just feel overwhelmed and feel all those other symptoms that go with anxiety problems: worrying, physiological symptoms, tension, trouble sleeping. And the good thing is there is support for those types of issues, whether it's worrying about COVID or something else. One of the newest programs we released and within my company in terms of our therapy-assisted ICBT was a health illness anxiety program, because we suspected that a lot of people who maybe were borderline or even had a predisposition for this were going to sort of see that come up. And we wanted to be able to help them sort of almost like nip it in the bud, right? Like there's no reason to have months and months of suffering before you can say, hold on, I can get a better control of some of my thinking. And that's going to allow me to kind of get through this, because the stressors are not going to go away. The risk is not going to go away.
The stressors are not going to go away. Okay, before we wrap this up, I think we've got another. I think we got a Sean on the video line. Sean Cullen on the video line. Hey, Sean, what's on your mind? And roll it, Phil.
Hello, this is Sean Cullen for Isolation Nation. And at this time, I'd like to remind you that even though you're cooped up with your partner and they're driving you insane, please refrain from murdering them. I know it's tempting. Their back is often turned or they're asleep, and you could murder them with ease. But please, don't murder them. It's against the law. And do you really have that much space in your freezer? I mean, no. And might it taint other meats? Think about it. Take care. Wash your hands. Wipe your bum.
Those are wiser words have never been spoken, and more topical. By the way, just as we say thank you, how's your daughter?
She's wonderful. She really is. I mean, the nice thing for her is that her room is sort of separate from the house. She's got her own deck and washroom. And so she's kind of in her pad. And she's, 29. So social media is like the umbilical cord. And she has dear friends. They Zoom, they laugh. She's on Instagram doing lots of daily things people can participate in. We meet, we have dinner. We played a game the other night, laughed ourselves sick. Yeah, I'd say she's doing really well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, she's doing great.
Yeah, and we're such super fun parents.
We're cool.
Totes.
Nothing says cool than saying we're cool.
No, absolutely.
I'm glad. What's the name of the book that you read from, Deb? When I heard you speak. Oh
gosh, I don't remember. It's something in mental health.
You don't remember the book that you read from?
She didn't write the book. It was
I wrote the piece.
Right.
There's
Okay. There you go. I was
something in support. Anyway, sorry.
I thought your piece that you wrote. I'm sorry, I was confused. was phenomenal. And the story of your daughter and, the struggles that she's been through, and that as a result, when you love someone, their struggles are your struggles.
Yes.
I came home and I woke my wife up and told her, man, I just heard Colin Mochrie's wife speak.
Oh, how lovely.
Did you ever wake up after I did something, or?
Yeah, just so you know, I purposely said Colin Mochrie's wife as opposed to Deb McGrath, because I thought maybe you would, jump on it and say, well, that's not a very good way to refer to me. But I guess I was being too complimentary for you to pick up on that.
Yeah.
But thank you, and this is. It's a good time for me to be able to share experiences and hear other people's experiences like yours. So, so Deb McGrath and your husband, thank you very much for doing this.
And thank you for doing it. It's a wonderful thing you're doing.
Whatever that thing is, it's wonderful. I love you guys. Thank you. Khush, tell me, what is Stronger Minds?
So Stronger Minds is a program that we launched just about 3 weeks ago, a completely free program available for Canadians, really trying to get the right sort of bite-sized approaches to psychologically minded advice, guidance. We've got some videos, we've got questions and answers in there. Other companies were making visors and turning, gin into hand sanitizer. And we were able to take what we have. We have this expert group of clinicians and psychologists, and being able to say, let's do our part. Let's figure out how we can help Canadians. And the one thing that we are doing really with Stronger Minds is making sure that we are being responsive to the questions that Canadians are answering, the stresses we're all collectively experiencing, trying to really capture that our mental health will vary through all this. So let's do our part to help people build resilience. And so I would treat it as Stronger Minds as a program that you can go through. It's going to be around indefinitely as we're dealing with COVID. And the idea is build some psychological resilience in the middle of everything we're doing.
Right. How do you find that?
MindBeacon.com/Stronger Minds.
One of the things that I'm always searching for, because people, because of the nature of what I do, people ask me all the time, hey, is there anything I can do? Because, at this point, you're not getting in to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. You're not even getting in to see your grocer. The place that we get fruit and vegetables from, you pull up out front and they bring the food that you ordered over the phone. So you're not getting in to see your grocer or your psychologist or your psychiatrist. So I'm always looking for places to refer people to. And I know what you guys are doing, and I think it's terrific. And I'm glad that we had a nice, clear signal from you. And give us 10 days and we'll call you back and we'll do this again.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Khush. Yeah, and I try to finish with words that I have learned about my own experience that maybe someone else will go, hey, yeah, you know what, me too. And what I've learned is the words that I say are not my truth. My silence is my truth. And that may not be for everyone, but people around me know that it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter if I say, oh my God, I'm doing great. If I'm not talking, if my fallback is silence, then I'm not doing so great. And I should stand up and, Case, can you see my shirt?
Oh, that's great.
Oh, okay. Yes. That shirt is Haley Wickenheiser was on this show, I guess, about 10 days ago. And she was talking about how she and Ryan Reynolds, she tweeted out, we got to get equipment to doctors because they need it. And it's horrendous that you can be in a hospital and not have the proper mask and not have the proper anything. I mean, it's horrible to think about that. She's in third year medical school and she said she was in the ER and she was in the ER. How about this? Treating a patient and she didn't have the appropriate mask. She had one of the masks that, Deb, I saw you making masks, and that's all she had. So she started this thing, which is conquercovid19.ca. Go there, find out what they're doing, and I promise you'll look at it and go, wow, that is freaking awesome. 4 gold medals, and she's still making Canadians proud. That's it for today. Hope that you gained something from the show. I know I did, from Colin and Deb and Khush, and we'll see you tomorrow on Isolation Nation. I could talk forever, man. It's like someone's got to cut me off. Someone's got to count me in my ear down to 0. Can you do that? Can you yell 5, 4, 3? Case, can you do that? Yell 5, 4, 3. So yeah, you got to do it. Okay, so thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow on Isolation Nation.